I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Haven't done that in a while.
Dan,
Yes.
we have some people over at Beach Lodge. They're on their way over here.
Okay.
So you may want to start with who's here.
Pardon me.
You may just want to start with,
Well, we got a couple of other things to do first, so maybe we'll get. We can have roll call.
Mr. Osborne,
Present.
Mr. Adams,
Present.
Mr. McManaway,
Present.
Mr. Ugler,
Present.
Mr. DeWitt,
present.
and Lee Marshall. We are all present.
We have minutes from the March 18th meeting that we need to approve. I do have one correction. Page page 2. It's Nancy Baker instead of Mary Baker.
Oh, sorry. That's from my childhood. I put Mary instead.
Yeah. I think that's the only thing. Well, somebody pointed out to me, I didn't want to do that.
I'll make motion first.
I'll second. Been moved and properly second that we approve the March 18th minutes. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approved 5-0. Go ahead and get this.
All done. Just kidding. Sorry.
Well, you're right, Barry. For some reason, oh, this is March 18th. Okay. See if I can just take it out. Here, I need to sign it. We have 4 variances on the agenda tonight. We'll start with 2021-003B for Joseph Garnett and Cynthia Halleck. Are they here? Yep. Okay. I'd like to come up and sit here or stand. You need to be able to pick up
The sound.
on the mics.
Sure.
Some of this out of the way. Okay, Mr. Alex, or Garnett.
Yep, okay. As you remember, we introduced our project for 415 State Street back in February, kind of give a preview. Briefly recap the situation. The structure has deteriorated quite a bit due to neglect and lack of attention for the last 10 years. More so than that, we had an engineering company inspect it, and the foundation is cracked and damaged and isn't suitable for rebuilding. So we know it needs to come down and completely new structures laid onto a new foundation. Feedback from the neighbors, they're related. We've been canvassing the neighborhood, and they're related to hear someone is willing to make an investment into the property, into the eyesore. People have been frustrated to see how it's kind of deteriorated, lack of attention for the last 10 years. And plus it's pretty visible, right? It's really close to town, highly visible from town to town park. Feedback from you last month was primarily concerned around the proposed home. Was too big, too close to the fire station side property line. And you heard we made changes to the plan. There was a typo in the initial one that I sent. Hopefully you got the corrected one. The setback to the rear is 16 feet to the west property line. Hopefully you got the corrected version. And then 7 feet to the south property line for the towards fire station.
Let me
sorry.
clear that up again.
Sure.
Okay, so what you're asking for that I see, I've got two different, I copied one at home and just picked up one here when I got a rear yard setback of 12 feet from the required 25 feet. Is that correct?
It's 16 feet. That was a typo.
It's 16 instead of 12.
Yeah, the old proposal was 12 feet. The new one is 16. Everything else is correct on the drawing.
That was the only typo.
That was the only edit. Yeah, we missed that one.
South side, 7 feet from the 10 feet, and the north side, 7 feet, 8 inches from 10 feet required. Okay.
And it's 15 feet on the rear yard.
16.
16.
And we also made an adjustment. The feedback we've gotten was about being over 50%. We are now under the 50% non-permeable surface requirement. So the proposal we have is basically for two hardships. One, to address the parking and the safety by adding a garage and driveway. We're right next to the fire station. So it's important to have that street access clear. Or probably more commonly though is the restaurant, retail employees park right there, which is understandable. They're using a rear entrance to work. You also have the food and beer delivery trucks that also park there and take supplies in. So, and then on those busy weekends, you get general park or the park facilities, people parking there. And then the other thing is main floor accessibility. Previously, we're concerned about our future needs. We're working on broadability. We have broadability employees and customers. Wheelchair accessible is key, and then it's become even more important because my father has now lost his mobility due to COVID, and he's on full-time air. So it's important that we have a main floor bathroom and bedroom. Are there questions on the information said?
You're gonna have a ramp anywhere going in, or?
Inside the garage.
I don't have the garage other than pictures as far as on
I need
the plan. Just got the house and no garage, but they got the garage in pictures.
That's what I was just looking for too, Barry.
Should be built here to the south towards the fire station.
Do we have a copy of that? I
I
don't.
don't have it in my packet that I received.
I mean, I have a view from front, but I have no.
Yeah, I have the view.
You have it, JD?
No, I don't have what Mr. Garnett is
Me
sharing
neither.
right
I
there.
don't have that either.
I don't have that.
All right.
Oh, the other one, yeah, I've got the one you got on the left, I don't have the one on the right.
the rear, or the garage, the rear, the rear. This is existing. This would be the garage. This was, you probably remember this drawing from before. The only difference is it's reduced in, so this is the update.
Okay. This is gonna be.
This is the garage. This would be
where
septic.
What's your entrance to the garage going to be?
This,
Uh-huh.
or that's 18 feet.
No. What, is it going to be paved? Is it going to be concrete? Is it going to be
Paved.
grass?
It'd be a paved.
Then that has to be,
Yeah.
that's got to be
That's gonna
part of
be,
the pervious area.
yes, and it's calculated.
Okay. That's less than 50%.
Yep. That'd be 49.45.
The pervious.
So I'm, that's something different. I have, the total impervious is 60.1.
Yeah, that's the old floor plan there. So that was before we took it in. This was the one from last month, back in February. So we have here, we took it in 7 feet to the south, 16 feet from the west.
Okay.
And so our impervious is now 49.45.
Could you send that to Karen Heim right now?
Yep, I can do that.
And she can print that off.
What was the other drawing that you were showing before?
Yep. So
Oh,
this
wait,
is-
okay, I did get those two. All right, okay, that's, oh, no, I didn't get
On
this.
this, like I say again.
So this is
Just
the
give a
existing
number.
structure, this is the
Yeah, I
add-on
think
to the
so.
rear access, and then to the garage.
This 50 here and this
But is it-
44,
Is the 16 feet we're talking
And
come
this-
from the back?
this is-
The garage, correct?
Yes.
yes.
Okay, so, I mean, I'd put it on this drawing to the house.
That was supposed to be 16. Oh, sorry, am I looking at the right one? Yeah.
Yeah, that was the.
And this is 7. Okay, gotcha. All right, all right.
And
Okay.
7 feet on the south side,
Yep, and then I'll send this right now.
and there's 7.8 on the north side. Ten feet, 1 inch from the tree.
How tall is this house?
We're still working with the architectural drawings on that, but we're anticipating 33.5 feet
33.5.
From where is that from?
from the ground.
Because we have a serious problem across the street from where it's gonna be. You know that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
From actual grade. not
So it's
the
gotta be from a predetermined, between you and I, predetermined grade, and then it can be no more than 35 feet from there.
Yep.
Not from foundation or anything else.
Yeah, we don't want to be anywhere close to that. No.
Because that's a variance too. That would be a variance, a requested variance.
Not for
Do you know,
height.
what?
There's no variance for height.
Yes, there is.
Yes, there is.
Because it's on from the existing home that he's asking to be removed, it's now higher.
Right.
Well, this is
For the
complete.
35 feet is not requested, what I'm talking about.
Right.
No, but he needs to request a variance from the height of the current house.
Only
Right.
if he's building back on the same footprint,
Right.
same house. If it's not, then he doesn't have to.
Okay, so,
Correct.
so he's not on
Well,
same footprint, so he doesn't, okay.
But that's just it. As far as I'm concerned, yes. I mean, because this is a new
The new
thing.
home.
What is the square footage of, not just of the footprint?
It is,
I just want the bottom floor.
it's 27 by 34. But, and it's notched out in the.
That's
corners.
the current house.
Yes.
That's what I had, is 27 by 34, which is about under 1,000 square feet.
Yep.
About 900, in fact, rarely over 900.
Yeah,
What's
correct.
the square footage of the one you're proposing?
It is 27 by 40.
And that's without the garage?
But that was without the garage, yes. So adding 6 feet to the rear.
Dan,
Yes.
you need to make a statement that this meeting is being recorded.
Oh, okay. Yes, this meeting is being recorded, everybody. And anybody that calls in, it will be recorded. So we do have a record of everything. Just have to announce that, sorry. Okay, questions?
What's the square footage of the garage that's added to the home?
18 by 30.
18.
Is Karen gonna read herself some copies?
I'm just
Okay,
texting it right now.
okay.
I just want for my records here.
So Barry, I'm sort of asking you something because you're the, one of the,
Sorry.
I'm just asking Barry something because he knows so much more than I do.
Don't give me that much credit.
When you're tearing down an existing house, what alleviates you from having to build on that same footprint? Is it just that it has a foundation that's bad? Is that, or it's been destroyed by a tornado or something?
You can actually build, you don't have to build on the existing footprint. If you tear the house down, you can put it anywhere you want to, I guess, as far as it fits within your setbacks. And if it doesn't fit in the setbacks, of course, that's why we're here.
Okay.
So I think that's one of the questions I have is just to get clarification on the number of variances that are being asked for. Because in the beginning of the meeting, I thought I came in knowing what you were asking for in terms of variance. And so I just for the record, you are asking for the rear yard, the south, and the north. So three
Yeah, the
areas.
north is the current, we're maintaining that same current footprint from the north, but it is less than the setback.
Correct. So that still would require a variance from us.
It would require a variance.
Okay.
Yeah, but it wouldn't if it was on the same footprint, correct? If he'd be at the house on the same footprint, he wouldn't require a variance for that
Yeah,
north
see, that's
side.
that's kind of where I'm coming from, Dan.
Yeah.
Like, once you
Right.
tear
It's
it
on the
down,
same
Once you tear it
all
down,
bets are off.
Anytime you add to that, whatever, I mean, it's in ordinance that's showing that anytime you add to a non-conforming structure that's on lot, anytime you add to it, it changes everything because you can't add to or whatever because you're adding to a non-conforming structure.
Correct.
Without variance.
And then can somebody confirm for me the actual lot size? I've seen on Mr. Garnett's drawings that it's different than what was listed elsewhere. Is it 60 by 66 or 60 by 67?
60 by 66.
Yeah, what was it, 3,900 and some square feet? Is that what we talked about last meeting?
3,960.
This is a non-conforming lot of record.
Correct.
Meaning it was platted before he had this.
Yeah, see, and that's where, if we were, this is technically described as a lot that's not, doesn't meet.
Non-conforming lot of record.
That's what it is.
And so is there any special thing that if you tear the house down on that, any special regulations? Because it's a non-conforming lot of,
You know, if he decides to build a house exactly like he's got, he can put it on the same footprint on that lot. But if it's going to move or change like he's doing, then he has to get the variances. But you can build on it because it's already recorded non-conforming.
But he can only build it on that same footprint. I mean, because it says non-conforming structures. No such non-conforming structure may be enlarged or altered in any way which increases its non-conformity. Any structural portion thereof may be altered to decrease the nonconformity.
So he's decreasing it by moving it away from the property lines and centering it out.
What's the setback from the current home, from, to the west?
To the west, the current is 21.
21, okay.
Okay, so now I'm totally confused by what you guys said. So this was my understanding, and I just want to make sure, because when I'm confused, then it's really hard for me to make a decision. So if you have a non-conforming structure, right? And you want to add to it, you can't make it more non-conforming, right? I mean, basically,
Without a variance.
without a variance.
I mean, it's.
If you tear it down,
it's
is
no
that sort of
longer-
all bets are off? So now everything is a variance. So if you're gonna put it back, all four walls of this new house would require a variance. Is they're all gonna be,
Right, you can still put it, yeah, you can put on there, if you can meet the setbacks,
right,
you can build on there without a variance,
right. Got it, okay.
even on some non-conforming lots.
So it's really, it's kind of JD, is what you were sort of asking, like how many variances? So it's north, south, east, west variance, right?
Right,
And then and we don't need a height variance, is that what you said? Don't need a height
No.
variance?
But, yeah.
And is that it?
I don't think you're asking for east. The State Street side, you're meeting the 25-foot setback.
Well, no, it's only 10 feet from the sidewalk.
so he has to have a variance for that as well.
That's not listed in here
No,
No.
as a request.
No, I was under the impression the variance was from the existing property. I was maintaining the existing. So it's already non-conforming.
Doesn't get
So,
any closer.
yeah, I'm not.
So are there
Right.
4?
No, wait a minute, I'm not understanding that. Why isn't the front yard setback not applying?
Oh, he does.
It does.
He
He
was
just
wrong
missed
in
it.
his thought process. He does need to ask for variance for the front yard. He thought he was keeping it the same distance as the house.
So he wouldn't need.
But that's only if the house stays. So if
That's
you tear
only
it
if the
down,
house stays,
that's
it's
wrong.
not if it's torn down.
Yeah.
If it's torn down, he needs 4, north, south, east, and west.
And it's 25 feet rear and front yard.
25 feet minimum front yard, 25 feet minimum rear yard, 10 feet minimum side yard. So he's less than 10 feet.
That
on
makes
each
it
side
smaller
yard.
than it is,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah, and he's
it's
going 16
it's
feet on his.
doesn't fit an outhouse.
Right, yeah, it's a tall house.
9 inches or 9.9 feet, whichever one this is, but on the front.
So on the State Street side, it's 10 feet, not 25.
Yes.
And then I'd like some clarification on the impervious before, and I think Karen is giving us something, but I got lost in like what got moved in and.
She
and that kind of-
didn't receive it yet, or it
Okay.
hasn't downloaded to her yet. So
Well, I truly don't think we can even proceed with this because we have to advertise it as being a front yard setback that he's requesting also. We can't change the variance.
Right,
And the impervious surface too.
We can't say to anybody that's received this, oh, by the way, we changed it. And they're not asking for a variance for the front yard setback. So we put one in. We can't do that, can we? Don't we have to advertise what they're asking for?
We
Yeah.
do.
yeah, because the neighbors are supposed to be informed prior to the hearing.
Mhm.
But I do have one other question before we do not proceed. Are these lines as far as setbacks for your foundation, or are they for your overhangs?
They're the existing side structure.
Okay, because your overhangs are considered in that setback.
Okay.
So you're gonna have to calculate whether you have 0 overhang, whether you've got 12 foot. And if you've got your gutter that sets out here, your gutter counts. So that furthest most point closest to that property line. So if those have not been included, you need to include those the next time you come back.
Okay.
So, So at this point, you're asking for, if he's asking for a change in what was advertised, then it's gonna have to come back next month. Because we don't have enough time to advertise for the April 15th meeting. Those days are passed. So it has to be for the May BZA meeting.
Didn't we just talk about that we can't add?
We did.
Something
At our-
like that.
We had a work session, yeah.
He's adding, but it's not at this meeting.
So it would be the May 20th meeting.
And when you look at that, and you're quite right, it makes the lot very limited,
Right.
and there's no doubt about that. But like I said to you the last time we met, I don't know that that's a hardship. Because, when you bought the lot, you should have been looking at stuff like that, the ordinance. And if you bought one that's too small to put a big house on, that's too bad. There's no, it's not a hardship as far as I'm concerned, but that's only me. So just want to let you know that. Yes, but we can't proceed with this if you're asking for 10 feet from the front. Yes, Mr. Mason.
I have a question. We used to require that the property that's being considered be staked out and the corners marked so we knew where the lot lines were. When did we abandon doing that?
I have no idea.
I don't know how you would know.
Aren't there stakes down there now?
There's, yeah, he has
I
stakes,
was gonna
he
say, I
has
think there's
stakes down
stakes
there.
Yeah. It's marked out.
It's marked out.
And
It is.
Jones just did it because he's got his property.
The
comes around the
property
side.
line is,
Yes.
how
Yes.
about the profile of what he wants to build?
It's about a 3-foot, it's those snow stakes.
Yeah.
So you do have those, he has the thing laid out as to what's gonna be.
When I was out there today,
Yeah, because we used to do that. I was just wondering, I didn't think you were doing it anymore.
Yeah, no, he did that. I drove by.
Okay, so I'll update the information, and then my variance has to request, because the structure's coming down, I misunderstood. I thought the existing lines, the existing setbacks were okay.
No, the setbacks from the front yard setbacks, the rear yard setbacks, and both side yard setbacks.
And just remember that your setback is
It's
your
from
overhang.
the butter.
Mr. Adams, I know that we are not going to pursue the rest of this hearing for Mr. Garnett. However, we did have citizens that shared, I believe, some input.
Yes.
Is it important to read it at this time, or does that wait? That waits.
It would wait. I mean, we appreciate the people that came on, but.
Well, I think it would be advisable to read it now, just so that you would know what comments would be.
Yeah,
And I
I
don't
mean,
think there's any
there's-
reason not to do that.
If
Are
there's-
there any people online?
No, well, I'm talking about the letter. so we
Oh,
received.
sorry,
If
okay,
it pertained to anything other
Yeah.
than what we've already discussed.
okay. You want me to read these?
Yeah, if
Okay.
you don't mind.
Loud voice, please.
Okay, sorry. Get complaints online.
Speak up, Barry.
Wait, hang on. Okay, so the board received 3 emails. The first one is from Kim and Rusty Kearns at 215 Lakeview Street. This was sent to Karen Heim, and she forwarded it to us. Good afternoon, Karen. Could you please read this letter to the members of BZA board during the meeting on April 1st, 2021? Thank you. Anthony and Kimberly Kearns, owners of a condo at 605 Pearl Street, would like to say we approve the variance for a major improvement of a new single-family home being requested by Joe and Cindy Garnett, located at 415 State Street. This property has been run down for many years. The structure that the Garnetts are requesting is beautiful and will be an improvement that the residents of Culver can be proud of. We support this variance as requested. Thank you, Kim and Rusty Kearns. The next email is from Patty and Mike Stallings. This was sent directly to the board. We are writing to the members of the BZA to oppose the above referenced request. We live to the west of the fire station at 506 East Shore Drive in the northeast corner of our property is to the rear and just south of the subject property. Mr. Garnett has distributed a proposed site plan to neighbors, which does not conform to his proposed request to the BZA as stated in the public notice. The following issues concern us. One, Mr. Garnett has sent out a proposed site plan showing a 16-foot setback from the west rear lot line to neighbors, but his variance request is for a 12-foot setback.
That was a typo.
Right, exactly. I'm still gonna read this because his site plan shows a 40-foot house front to rear with a 16-foot rear setback, but he is asking for a 12-foot setback, which would allow him to build a 46-foot deep house. Also, the proposed site plan, which he sent to the neighbor, shows that the lot is 3,980 square feet, but the lot is 66 by 60, 3,960 square feet. This mistake allows him to get less than 50% lot coverage of 49.7%. With a 27 by 40 house that he shows on the proposed site plan, the rear yard would be 16 feet of setback. However, with his BZA request, he could build an additional 180 square feet of house. This would change the impervious surface from 49.7% to 54.4%. Mr. Adams stated at a prior meeting with Mr. Garnett in attendance that he was firmly opposed to granting variances on requests of less than 50%. Number two, on Mr. Garnett's proposed site plan to neighbors, he shows a setback of 7 feet on the south lot line, 16 feet on the west lot line, and 7 feet 8 inches on the north lot line. I do not believe that these distances include soffit and gutter requirements of an additional 1 foot 6 inches. When he contacted me about the original request that he presented to the BZA, I explained to him that all setbacks include soffit and gutter plus 10 feet or 25 feet. In light of the problems that occurred on his daughter's house on State Street, I believe that the BZA should be aware of his lack of communication with neighbors. Number three, when Mr. and Mrs. Jones requested a variance last fall on their lot adjacent to Mr. Garnett's north lot line, they were denied by the BZA and had to acquire 12 additional feet of land on the north lot line in order to conform to the required setback of 10 feet plus 1 foot 6 inches. Mr. Garnett has requested a variance of 7 feet 8 inches on his lot line adjacent to the Jones property. I feel that the BZA should require the same setback as they imposed on Mr. and Mrs. Jones. Number four, my last concern is the 35 height limitation. I trust that you will require information from Mr. Garnett about what he is proposing to build and hold him to that requirement. In summation, I hope that you will consider these issues in your decision. I would welcome a new home that conforms to the home that is currently on the lot. Patty and Mike Stallings. This is from Tom Uhas, sent to the entire board. To the members of the Culver BZA, I am writing to express my concern about petition 2021-003B, which is on the agenda for the April 1st, 2021 meeting. My wife and I live at 430 State Street, which is within 300 feet of the subject property. The current homeowner had emailed on February 17th, 2021 and sent his proposal of a new home to be built. My understanding is the existing house is on a non-conforming lot of less than 5,000 square feet. A new home could be built on the existing footprint if the foundation was faulty, if a fire destroyed the house, or weather damaged the home beyond repair. The drawings sent to me were of a 3-story home that I believe would require 6 variances from BZA. All 4 sides of the new home are non-conforming, and the impervious area exceeds the 50% requirement. The 6th variant would be regarding a 3-story house replacing a 2-story house. Another area of concern is that the drawings do not show any gutters and eaves. These need to be part of the setback calculations. I would advise the BZA to require architectural drawings on these new home requests so that you are fully informed of what the homeowner plans to do. Recent decisions by the BZA would have had different outcomes if the homeowner had presented such documentation. Lastly, I must remind the members of your primary consideration on all your decisions. What is the hardship for the variances? The homeowner is concerned about wheelchair accessibility. Why are they building a 3-story home? Is there an elevator in the home? The listed hardships in the email sent to me do not even list accessibility. The fact that the home is old, deteriorating, and has no off-street parking are not hardships. Those facts were known when the home was purchased. the homeowner has purchased a small house on a small lot and wants to put a large house on a small lot. Seems pretty simple to me. Teresa and I are looking forward to a new home being built that blends with the other homes, I think he means in the neighborhood he left out in, and conforms to the existing zoning requirements. Those are the 3 emails that were sent to all of us.
So this won't be on until the May meeting,
If he
because it's too
gets-
late.
If he gets his new filing in,
And 15 days.
by the 15th of April. Okay. So make sure it's in by that time.
It'll address the eaves, setbacks.
If you can get the architectural drawings that show
Yeah,
all of that.
every dimension that you can have as far as your proposed, everything.
It'll go a long way. And
Boo.
give their minds at ease.
Give me Tom Uhas's. The other 2 are in here, but Tom's isn't.
And as far as impervious, pervious on your drawing, it's not that hard.
If you get that done by an engineer, he's bound by law to be accurate on what he does. So that's why it's better than you or I figuring what we think it is or where it might be. But the engineer will give you, because he's bound by law to do that. So it will be accurate. I think that's what the members need in order to be able to make a good judgment.
Okay, let's go ahead and proceed. We have 3 other variances to look at.
This is Cindy Garnett. I would
Okay.
like to ask a quick question, just
Yes.
for my benefit, because I've done a lot of studying of past meetings and I've read Culver's comprehensive plan. So excited about what we can do here. But would you please help educate me then on hardship, because I'm not understanding what exactly you mean and what exactly then is a hardship.
Well, we happen to have
The definition of
a
hardship.
definition of hardship. Do you have that with you, Boo?
Yeah, that would be helpful.
You know what?
I think I just found it.
Okay,
Oh, there you go. I know I had it here.
and this is from a Supreme Court decision. That's why.
Yeah, this is-
And an attorney sent it to us.
Court of Appeals of Indiana, December 4th, 2014. We have articulated several factors for a reviewing court to consider in determining whether compliance with the zoning ordinance will result in practical difficulties, whether significant economic injury will result in the ordinance is enforced, whether the injury is self-created, and 3, whether there are feasible alternatives. I think that, well, and it gives cases that they referred to. So, you know, if there are 3 questions that we ask in our finding of facts is, will it be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community?
Okay.
2, will the use and value of the area adjacent to the property, including the variance, will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner? And the last one, the strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will result in practical difficulties in the use of the property. And that's where we usually get into the hardship, is the question 3. Is it a hardship if we're using that property? I don't know if that is answering your question, but when we say, you know, what's the hardship, that's what we're referring to.
Okay,
If we
so
don't-
hardship, so say that, would you say that third one to me again? Because you said it, but I don't think I'm tracking.
The strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will result in practical difficulties in the use of the property.
Okay, so am I understanding correctly then? So the strict application, so if we were to say the home's coming down and it needs a variance on all 4 sides, and really to be compliant, you'd have a home the size of an outhouse, which just, I mean, kind of joking with what we said earlier. So that's where the practical difficulty comes in. Am I interpreting correctly?
No, not the words that you use. Because if you can't build a house any bigger, of course, we use your outhouse as a reference, then it would be considered a non-buildable lot in that case.
Okay,
So you couldn't build on a non-conforming lot of that size without a variance of some kind to even allow anything. So the hardship would already be there prior to the purchase of the property even. So if you want to look at that side of the hardship, because the hardship should be, I'd say 90% to the property. And then if you've got the healthcare part of it, like if you need a wheelchair, if there's no alternative chances, then that too is a hardship.
Mr. President, if we could, we need to be moving on.
Sure.
If there
Yeah,
are
we've
more
got-
questions or anything else, we need to go.
We do have to move on. I hope we've answered your question. Move on to variance 2021-005B. This is petition filed by Mark and Mary Heel. Do we have somebody to speak to that tonight?
Yes.
Oh, you're online, okay. And who is speaking?
Mark?
This is Mark Heel.
Yes.
Can I just ask, Mark, do you live at this property address? Is that your address, 111 East Washington Street?
Correct, I do.
So, correct? Is that your address?
Yes, it
111
is.
East Washington?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes, it is.
sorry, just, okay.
And who is Michael Hudson?
He's the gentleman that I'm purchasing the property from.
Okay. So that's not where you live right now?
Yes, it is.
Oh, it is where you're living, okay. My drawing of this is really very difficult for me to try to determine what you're doing. I don't know if the other copy was any better or not. I think it's just as bad. The only, does anybody have a good drawing of this?
Here, you want to look at my computer, Dan? I brought this on purpose.
Yes.
To make it bigger.
He has that.
I mean, I have this.
He wants it to
drawing,
be bigger. That's right. That's what you're saying.
but- well,
So you can see it better. Yeah, does that help? You can just go back and
Go
forth
back.
like that. Right. Does that help? Do you want to use this?
we just,
You just use two fingers and it'll move it any way you want.
well, I'm just trying to figure out where all this fits in. This is existing now,
Yeah.
Yes,
Mhm. That's the.
so
addition.
this is,
there's a
What's back
significant
here?
open area behind the house there, Dan.
Have to use two fingers to move it. Move it.
is there anything back there now? That's what
No,
I'm trying to
there's,
figure out.
no, there's nothing back there now.
I'm sorry?
No, there's nothing back there currently.
Okay.
This is an alley. This is the alley.
Chuck, is this, what's the zoning on this?
The zoning is C1.
Okay, what does that actually mean with this project?
That's, well, the house that's there is a non-conforming structure in a C1 district. In a C1 district, need to have living space above the first floor. That would be like downtown,
Okay,
that we have no living space on the main floor. This is something that was there non-conforming before zoning, so now it's allowed to be there. What they're asking to do is take, by attaching the garage, making living space upstairs, having their chiropractic services downstairs. It would be then conforming to C1, and it couldn't go back to ever having living space on the main floor like it does now. Basically, it's acting as an R1 residential or an S1.
so there's no, with C1, there's no setbacks?
No, that's not minimum front yard, rear yard, side yard are zero.
There's zero.
Yes.
It's like 100% impervious too.
And 100% impervious.
So is it, okay, so this is, so if it's a non-conforming structure, sorry, poor Mark, you having this discussion before you've ever presented anything, but do they have to get a use variance to have a medical, a medical practice in there?
No.
No, because it's.
Because it's commercial,
It's
okay,
in zone C1.
Okay.
Non-conforming use, they're using as a residence now.
that's the
But it
non-conforming
would-
use, yeah,
But it was there before.
Non-conforming use of record.
Yeah.
gotcha, okay.
No.
Sorry.
It was
So-
conforming use of record. Of record at the time it was used. Now it's a non-conforming use of record. Because here's the new zoning,
I gotcha. Yeah,
but it was rezoned.
So I don't know what we're voting on here. I seriously don't. I don't understand what we're even looking at. So they're not asking for, see, I'm completely confused with this.
They're actually asking to build this so that it would conform with the zoning.
Well, it won't any more than it does now.
No, there's a residence there now. C1.
But how's adding on to it going to change it?
Because they're gonna.
Because they're still going to live there.
But
They're gonna live upstairs.
Under C1's regulations, you can have residents.
Well, so they're not going to live, they're going to turn the downstairs into the office. Okay,
Correct.
Yes.
now I'm understanding.
Can I steal that back from you, Dan, or do you need something?
But- Oh, okay. Then, okay, so if there's no setbacks required, why are we having a variance? That's why I'm confused. Because there's nothing that we can,
Well,
we're not gonna have a finding of facts.
He
here.
doesn't own the property yet.
Yes, I do.
Oh, you do? Well, according, I thought it said for Michael Hudson.
That's because we've started this process on a land contract because we've been at this for about a year now and we can't seem to get anything agreed upon to build on it. And if I can't, I'm gonna renege and give the property back to him.
Oh, goodness.
This goes back, there were steps in between. At one point, there were two parcels there. They couldn't build across the parcel line.
Okay,
Okay, now that they would have had to get a variance for that, now that they combined it, they have one parcel. So now they can move forward and different, without having to build across the property line.
but my question is, why are we giving a variance? I don't feel like we're giving a variance. I think in what they're doing away with the need for a variance because they're changing it to what it should be.
Matters whether the garage is attached or not. Is the garage attached?
Yes.
Well, I think it's who owns it. I mean, we're giving a variance to somebody that doesn't own the property yet.
That's the biggest problem I've got. right
Yeah.
now. There's actually two problems. One of them is on their property because Is it Overmeyer's property? That the
Not
garage there?
Overmeyer's have their garage on my property.
Correct.
Not his property.
That's what I'm talking about. Their garage is on your property.
Yes.
And is that gonna be corrected in
No.
any way?
No, that's, they can't, there's no way they can take that to court or do anything with it at this time. If Overmeyer's decide to make changes, then they can go back and be conforming. At this point, with what they've done as they've moved forward, they're not going to be needing a variance, as you've said, or anything. And as far as the Hudson versus the Heel, they have a letter of, right here.
Yeah, I saw that, but you know, I still, why didn't the Hudsons apply for this?
They are through the heels.
Okay,
Yeah.
but they don't own the property yet.
Yes, we do own the property.
Anybody, you can have an attorney come in and be your agent. If you sign the paper, Hudson has signed this.
So it's contingent upon this.
So that Heels will be his agent at this point.
Right.
So the variance, the agreement would still go to Hudson, but Heel is representing Hudson at this point. Okay?
I think Mr. Heel just said that he does own the property.
I do. We bought it, we purchased it on a land contract. I didn't want to go to a bank and finance this twice. I want to do one loan, one process, and I was trying to resolve this situation before we paid Mike off.
All right.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah, the only thing that brought up the red light for me was when you said whether to let it go back or not. And I didn't know if that was an option here that we were looking at as far as whether you agree on it. And
My objective is to get a garage, and if I can't get a garage, the property is of no value to me.
Okay.
okay.
Yes, Ms. Mason.
The question is, the apartment above the garage. If the garage is connected to the house, that's fine, as long as there isn't a separate entrance. Because then you've got two residents and two residential pieces on one property.
There's not an apartment, there's not two residents.
There's only one resident regardless, whether there's two or
Correct.
three entrances. The residence is upstairs.
If you can get to the second floor of the garage without going through their house, it's a separate residence. That's been forever in the rules of this group.
We need to be
Well,
able,
this is C1.
I've never seen that.
Yeah.
That's the C1.
First of all,
That's
it's
what
a
throws
C1.
it off.
Can you answer the question? Is there going to be a separate entrance to the?
we need to have a separate entrance, because if the chiropractic office is being utilized, nobody wants to walk through there while there are patients in there.
Well, there's people in there.
There isn't one more.
Yeah.
So,
Mark and Mary Heel have been working on this, as they stated, for over a year.
Uh-huh.
It's gone from the two parcels, they were going to build a separate garage and house. Now it's combined. They've moved everything to a point where it's now conforming for a C1. And I think at this point, we should allow them to go ahead and build. We don't have to take a vote. If everyone here agrees that it is conforming to C1, then they should be allowed to go ahead and get the building.
yeah, I agree.
Shouldn't that been to the planning commission for zoning appeal?
No, it's not being rezoned.
But that's not all planning commission does, is rezone. It's just showing that the house is what they're wanting to build on there. I mean,
I don't see
you
why,
would be representing the planning commission.
I don't see why it would go to,
It would be before us, but I mean,
I don't see why it would go to the planning commission.
if planning commission order, there's the home going on there, and you be showing as conforming, so it wouldn't have to come before the board. But as a representative, as a building commissioner, you would have to bring it to the BZA, is what I'm saying.
This has moved, zigzagged, going over the last year, and it's changed into what it is today. That's only happened recently to make it conforming.
Right, so we're gonna have a board zoning appeals meeting to say it's conforming, you go ahead.
Yes, Barry, that is exactly right.
All right.
So,
Was it a mistake? Perhaps.
Was
What
that, but
is, that's
now
what
it's
you
not.
keep, that's what you keep going to. Was it a mistake for them to come? Not when we first discussed it. Now that
No.
everything's, no, don't wave me off.
I would rather wave you off and
I
not. have it
get
at
my
a meeting.
chance to talk, because now that it is conforming, no, it doesn't have to. Could we have avoided this? Yes, we could have. Was it a mistake? Yes, I made it. There you go.
I wasn't trying to.
But that's what you got.
Go ahead and make your statement.
Thank you.
We'll move ahead.
So is this basically that there's no variance? Is that basically where we are?
I think we should have a vote on it,
Okay.
and
Whether there's a variance needed or not.
I would entertain a motion that this does not need a variance because they're taking it in C1 and it's making it actually the way C1 is supposed to be.
I move that Mark and Mary Heal do not need a variance for 111 East Washington Street as it is a C1 conforming.
I second.
It's been moved and properly second. Any further discussion? Okay, how do you vote on that variance? Mr. Euler,
Yes.
Mr. McManaway?
Yes.
Mr. Osborne?
Yes.
Ms. Marshall?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes.
You can go to the county, get your building permit now.
Thank you very much.
And good luck.
Thank you.
Okay. Our next petition is 2021-006B. This is the Culver Educational Foundation.
Welcome back.
All right. So as I alluded to last time we met at the BZA, Culver Academy would like to install what would be referred to as communication towers, which will be video monitoring for both our football and our soccer stadiums. As we social distance and with many of the parents being out of state, out of town, the video towers are necessary for the parents to be able to watch these games. So I ran through the planning commission with Ty, and due to the heights of the recommended towers, which are 40 feet, which will give us optimal viewing, that is above the S1 zoning that we currently sit at. So if we look at the location of these proposed towers, if we start at the football field, both to the east and to the west, we have 80-foot light poles within 50 feet, maybe 75 feet. Also at the soccer field to the northwest, approximately the same amount, 70 feet, we have another 80-foot light pole. So I don't believe that this will be a hindrance to anything. The items are not close to any neighboring houses, apartments, and the practical use would be referring to the installation requirements that were sent out with this, which recommends the optimal viewing for the distance away from the field. It has an optimal height for that viewing. And we had a necessary distance away from the field. It's recommended at the 50-yard line. We had to get past the track. We had to get past the visitor bleachers, which then dictated the distance from the field. That's what dictated the height of the towers. So due to, like I said, due to the S1 zoning of 35-foot maximum height, Ty and the planning commission could not approve this, so I come to you and ask if I can get a variance for this tower.
Okay, questions from the board?
If the institutional zoning procedures that are going on with Culver Education Foundation would be complete, would you be in front of us right now?
No.
Okay, that's very helpful. And how close are we to that? Or, I mean, we're in the.
We're moving forward.
Okay, months, but okay.
Probably 2-3 months. we would say.
Anybody else have questions?
I would ask maybe a stupid question, but I couldn't help myself when I was thinking about this. Is there any danger to these at all? I mean, there's so much electrical stuff over there, but
The power supply will be a 110 electrical power, so no different than your normal outlets.
And you'll be underground.
And be under.
yeah. Okay.
Correct.
You know, you have tons of kids around there. I mean, the light poles are probably more dangerous.
And just for information for the rest of the board, you've already applied for the
I know where we're going. Come on.
The building that you're actually putting there, the football field, the height of that is already over.
The height of the new football stadium will be 39'8" to the top of brick. So, yeah, we've already got large buildings in the area.
So you're not gonna be anything higher much, I mean, if you're talking inches.
Correct. With that being said, these video monitoring would not fall under that previous variant.
And this is all remote, right? There's no platform for a person to be up, right?
Correct.
Got a question.
Okay, any questions from the audience? Yes, Mr. Mason.
Unless you guys changed it and I'm behind, accessory structures and S1 can be 50 feet. This thing's only 40 feet?
Correct. And I actually recommended that to Ty, and he said that this would not fall under accessory structure, yet it would fall under a communication tower, which then brings me here. I did try that loophole.
It's a good one. I didn't think they needed a variance.
Any questions from anybody on Zoom or calling in? If not, we'll move to finding of facts. Is everybody ready? I'm sorry. Give time to. Is there any talk of doing the same thing with the baseball field and the?
I have not heard any talk about the baseball field. And I believe that was in the plans that would have already been brought to my attention.
What about the sport with the sticks?
Lacrosse.
That would include it.
Is that the same field as the?
Oh,
That is actually on the football. field,
Today's the
yeah.
first?
Yeah.
The football
Oh,
field
geez.
has changed. Is that gonna be something
Sad but true.
different there? Like,
No, we'll have a.
Are you
stadium
doing
back
April Fools on me then?
behind
It's really not the first.
What?
talking about-
Are you doing April Fools on me?
There was a.
I'm really- no, I'm really
existing press
sorry,
box that will be
I know.
removed. A
I'm
new
not
press
pretending.
box with locker rooms will be installed.
Okay, let's go ahead to finding of facts. Remember, if you say no on any of these three questions, you have to vote no on the variance. Number one, the approval will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. Ms. Marshall,
Yes.
Mr. Osborne,
Yes.
Mr. Manaway,
Yes.
Mr. Hubler,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes. Number two, the use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. Ms. Marshall,
Yes.
Mr. Osborne.
Yes.
Mr. McManaway.
Yes.
Mr. Hubler.
Yes.
And chair votes yes. Number 3, the strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will result in practical difficulties in the use of the property. Ms. Marshall.
Yes.
Mr. Osborne.
Yes.
Mr. McManaway.
Yes.
Mr. Hubler.
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. I would entertain a motion that we approve this variance.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and properly seconded. We approve this variance. Any further discussion? How do you vote on the variance? Ms. Marshall?
Yes.
Mr. Osborne?
Yes.
Mr. McManaway?
Yes.
Mr. Hubler?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Approved 5-0.
Thank you.
Okay. Last variance we have is for Stephanie Lucas, 603 Obispo.
Mhm.
And Greg, are you presenting this tonight?
You guys know what we're building?
So just remind me who you are.
I'm Greg Lee, Lee Construction.
Are you saying LEE?
Yep.
Okay. And your address?
12887 Union Road. The address we're building on is
And
603 Obispo. Is the address we're building on? Is that what you're asking?
no, I'm asking you where your construction company,
Oh, yeah, 12887 Union Road.
and that's
Culver.
Culver? Okay. Okay, sorry.
Like to put a garage addition on. And I'm asking for 9-foot variance
Mhm.
off of Davis Street. And I'm gonna tear down the other garages that are there and put an attached garage on.
Do you have a little bit better picture than this, Greg, by any chance? Because I couldn't see on this exactly where we were going.
Which way?
From the street.
So from the alley,
This is,
there, that's a picture from the alley. And this is the house now, the helping.
Okay, this is Davis Street here.
Davis Street is where the, yeah, this is where the porch
Going
is.
this way.
Yep, and then this, the door will be facing the alley.
So it's going to be. Okay, so this is the front of the house.
This is the porch now that's there.
Okay,
And so I'm gonna come back in here. I'm asking for 9 feet
so
off of a
what's,
25-foot variance off the road.
and that's the only one you're looking for is from the
Correct,
street?
yeah, just off Davis Street.
So you're lining it up and it's actually behind the porch?
Yep.
It's further back from the street than the porch is now.
Yes, it is further back inside, yep.
And you're not asking for any variance on the west side?
Nope. Or and we're actually getting rid of the garage. It's too close to the alley.
Yeah. So there's a couple buildings back there, right? There's a garage.
It's a garage and like a shed,
And those
yeah,
couple-
but those are gone.
Shed's gonna,
Yeah.
shed's gonna be gone
Yep.
also.
You said the entrance is on the alley.
So you pull in the garage from the alley.
Yeah.
So I have this right. Yes.
JD, can I see it?
That's here, yeah,
What
just
did
make
you-
sure you put that. Yes, Davis Street.
He's got-
And then Mr. Adams just said that the garage is actually going.
Further in, further into the.
Everybody,
Yeah.
just kind of an idea.
But it's, that's a corner lot, so it's
Okay.
only,
Yeah, all right.
60
I looked at
feet.
JD had an
Yeah.
entrance from a different place, but you're coming, you would pull in,
Yeah, because we turn off the Main
Davis?
Street,
I
it's
put
onto
stakes in the yard.
Davis.
right, so you're gonna pull into this off of Davis. You're gonna pull in this way, or you're coming down the alley?
What, is there a setback from the alley?
25 feet.
25, and it meets that?
yep, yeah, we're inside that.
Yeah,
by
yeah.
2 feet.
I got it, okay.
Half.
That's, I know, I thought I understood it, but then I thought JD was explaining something different, okay.
Let me get everybody back.
So this is facing west.
Yes.
Right.
Yes,
And your entrance, the front door is kind of around the corner.
yes, yeah, on the
Right, yeah, it's
corner
right
of
on the corner,
Davis.
right, yeah. I go by there today.
Yep.
So just confirming that this setback, that 28 is saying that this is 28
That's
feet.
28, the building is 28, the addition is 28 by.
Oh, this is 28. What is this setback? Did I miss
10
that?
feet.
Somebody asked
It's
that?
10 feet
Okay.
to the neighbor's
Yes.
grass.
And this goes to this goes to the alley.
Yep, the driveway will go out to the alley.
Right to the alley, right.
Now, Mr. DeWitt had something. Chuck?
Okay, just so everybody understands, this is a corner lot, so it's got imposing
Three
front
setbacks.
yard setbacks on two sides. If there was a house next to it, they wouldn't even be here looking for a variance. If there was another house instead of a street, because they would meet their setbacks, their side yards and everything. So, you know, when you're looking at the house being farther forward than the garage is going to be, it's not as imposing as what the house is, so it's less imposing. Getting rid of two structures for one, meeting the rest of the setbacks, I think is a positive thing. It would be good for us to go ahead and pass this.
Questions?
What's different, what's the setback been off the alley?
25 feet.
It's gonna be 25?
The setback is 25. We're gonna be plenty, or we have like 30 feet till we get to the door, so we're plenty inside that.
Okay. That's what I wanted to clarify.
So the setbacks from here, that's what you're looking for.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking for, to get off Davis Street, but it's a
Right,
skinny
right.
lot, so
Right, yeah.
I'm asking for
Go by
9
there,
feet
yeah, check it out.
variance of the 25.
Issues with impervious.
No. Because we're taking down the other garages, so it'll be the same.
Swapping it out.
Yeah.
Those are the same size as
Because is there cement poured to those other little garages?
The garage
The
is.
garage, there's concrete under the garage, yeah, but they're gonna rip that up.
Right, so you're taking all that's gonna be gone.
Yes.
Once I build the garage, we're gonna keep it for storage, but yeah.
Right, yeah, because there's like a little, there's a garage and a shed,
And they're both coming down.
But the shed doesn't have
but
concrete.
that's right next to the alley.
Yes, like 4 feet off the alley.
Right, got it, okay.
What is the pervious impervious ratio right now? Way it is. I mean, I know you're saying that you're replacing it, but I still don't know what it was or what it is.
Chuck, can you figure that out?
Is that how tough? Sorry. That was
Well, I thought
my,
you were a little quicker than that, you know, I thought you'd be instantaneous.
Only when it comes to my mouth. My mouth is a lot quicker.
While he's looking at that, I'll ask anybody at the audience if they have questions.
I'm generally curious, what variance are you asking?
9 feet off of Davis Street. It's 25 now, and so,
And so instead of the required 15, you're wanting.
it's 25 off
25.
of Davis, and I'm asking for 9 feet of a variance. So,
Anybody have questions from Zoom or telephone?
I just like to put out there, I apologize for not being here. I have a very large dog. So I went down the streets and got him out and do his business.
This is taking longer than you thought.
Yeah.
They've got a mind of their own.
Yeah, you had to be fourth on the agenda, didn't you?
to help anybody.
Yeah, no,
If I can add anything.
Yeah, no,
with the
I got
sidewalk-
it.
Okay, all right.
Mhm.
With the sidewalk and the bike path coming in, with the garages being ripped down, going back to the house, I think that corner, it'll open it up for that bike path.
Is that,
That's my husband.
Okay. Is
It's
it?
supposed-
I just
That's
didn't know
Chris,
what your name
sorry.
is.
My name's Chris Lucas.
Okay. Sorry.
where is the bike path supposed to go?
Right,
I don't know.
right where that new sidewalk is
Yeah.
on Davis Street.
Um,
in front of our house.
So I put an application in today, and so did my neighbor, John Miller.
Okay.
Helps you at all.
To put new sidewalks in.
Good.
I think that corner would look, fabulous
Yeah.
with what I have planned also.
Okay, Mr. DeWitt.
I got it. There are approximately 7,600 square feet in the property. And the impervious, including the garage, shed, and existing concrete, as well as the house, comes to 2,508. So it's well below.
Okay,
Thank you.
Yes.
any other questions or comments? Not, we'll move to finding of facts. You can go ahead and sit down if you want. Greg. We won't make you stand there.
Here's the next one. Was there anybody from the online audience?
Nobody answered.
Okay, I didn't. I was
Oh,
busy.
yeah. They tried, I was looking to see if there's somebody even there, but I don't think there is.
I don't think I ever noticed before that you're a lefty.
Yes.
What did you say the setback for, that the house is from Davis Street?
Some days it's 25 feet is the setback.
No, that's what's required, but what is the
Oh,
house?
9 feet.
It's 9 feet? That's what you're asking for.
Yes.
What's the house setback, do you know? It's like, what, 6 feet maybe?
Something
Oh,
like
as
that.
far as off the board, what is it?
According to this, it's about between 5 and 6 feet.
It's hard to tell with the new sidewalk that came in and the configuring of the new bike path.
He's gonna.
How do you determine if that's really the front of the house when it sits at a corner? And you know what I'm saying?
Oh, Bispo Street, is that?
Right,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's that.
yeah, by the, yeah, because otherwise, I mean, how could you say that wasn't the side of the house?
Yeah.
Well, it's on the corner.
Right, it's a corner lot.
It's actually got, it's got 2 front yards.
Yeah.
But the way it's stock terms, so.
She calls it the front, I call it the back.
Right.
He calls it back, she calls it the front.
Okay, again, remind everybody,
Go back.
if you vote no on any of these questions, you must vote no on the variance. Question number 1, the approval will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. Ms. Marshall?
Yes.
Mr. Osborne?
Yes.
Mr. McManaway?
Yes.
Mr. Hubler?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Number 2, the use and value of the area adjacent to the property, including the variance, will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. Ms. Marshall?
Yes.
Mr. Osborne?
Yes.
Mr. McManaway?
Yes.
Mr. Hubler?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Number 3, the strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will result in practical difficulties in the use of the property. Ms. Marshall,
Yes.
Mr. Osborne,
Yes.
Mr. McManaway.
Yes.
Mr. Eubler,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes. I would entertain a motion that we approve this variance.
Listen, I had this whole thing in my head to fight back, and you guys just said, yes.
We haven't voted yet.
We haven't voted yet.
We haven't voted
Oh,
yet.
not yet?
I just changed my vote.
Yeah.
Do I have a motion for the variance?
I'll make the motion to approve.
A second.
Okay, it's been moved and properly seconded. We approve this variance. Any further discussion? If not, how do you vote on the variance, Ms. Marshall?
Yes.
Mr. Osborne,
Yes.
Mr. McManaway?
Yes.
Mr. Eubler,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes. Approve 5-0.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Appreciate you coming.
Yeah, no, I had this whole thing in my head, like, I had to fight for something and.
All right, let's move on. Craig, don't forget your. Um,
You got it. Okay. Sorry.
Any items of old business we need to talk about probably?
Yes,
Thank you, guys.
See you.
yes, I believe we need to talk about table variances.
Yeah.
And Russ, I'm glad you're here because you can chime in on this any time that you want to. When a variance is tabled, it's tabled because they're not going to get a yes vote. So they've got to come back with something different to present to the board in order to get a yes vote. Whenever,
And I will, but just add, or it might be tabled if there's only 3 or 4 people here,
right,
and they'll think it would get passed
if,
if another person was here.
if it's the applicant that's tabling it, because there is a quorum and it isn't going to go their way, they have to give us new evidence, something different in their next hearing in order to change the vote that you've got. Once they make a change, that has to be re-advertised and that has to be, put in our paper and go out to all of the 300 feet residents. And so once the table comes, that request is gone. So now they've got a new request, and that should be an additional fee as well as being advertised before they come back. I believe we have let them come back without doing that. That leaves our public without a chance to voice their opinions and not following our rules.
And you corrected the problem tonight.
Exactly.
But I would add too on that, as far as, I don't feel like any variance should be tabled only due to the, like you in your place, as far as BZA should be the only one that would be tabling any variance due to the lack of information to proceed with that. In other words, if there's some information that you didn't get, in other words, the variance is going to be still the same request, but there's information that they didn't have on it,
Then.
then you can table it until we get, just like we have in the
Very
past.
good point, very good point.
And we have in the past, whether it be the pervious, impervious information.
Nothing's changed, nothing will change, but they will have to come back the next month.
How about if somebody said, I'm not ready to vote yes on this, but I want to really think about this and go look at it again.
And that would be your place too, as far as the table, just because of lack of information.
But I think when the attorney or landowner wants that, to take that back, and maybe tabling is not the right word.
No, it's withdrawal.
Withdraw, when they withdraw, he has to withdraw, you can table.
But if he withdraws, he has a year before he can even come back with the same variance.
No,
With the same variance as far as the.
But if he wants to come back next month with a different plan,
Right,
he's got to submit that, it's got to be.
right. They were asking for 8 foot.
So
Now
then-
they come back later and ask for a 6 foot.
and what we have done before, and for years we've done, as far as I know, was if they come back and reduce what they're asking for, we would consider that and not make them reapply. What we're saying now is they're gonna have to reapply.
Right. Because it's still changing what they requested the first time, and we need to let.
And I guess
It was published, what was published,
Right, and what was published, correct.
right?
Which gets us into another thing here that we need to talk about. Then, and before we have, and this is stuff that has been done, but I just want to get clarified. Then if we say, well, if it was 8 feet, not 10, I might consider it. And so or it's 10 feet, whatever,
Yeah,
and so they say, okay, we'll make it 8 feet, we'll do it. We've done that many times.
right.
But you
And we-
can do that in the meeting.
You do it in a meeting,
But aren't we changing what they're asking for? And that's where I'm
Yes.
going.
Yes, you are.
Yes.
I want to comment on that too.
You
brought
are.
That up, and I appreciate you bringing that up. Because I know a lot of times, I mean, the argument, or I guess argument's not the right word for it, but as far as
Justification.
justification, a lot of people feel that and I use negotiating as the word for it. Because if you can negotiate it, then it would be eliminating another meeting, which would be less time that the BZA would have to do this. But my thoughts are that if we negotiate to that point, you're creating more time for the BZA on that particular time. Maybe because they don't come back, but are you opening up to a procedure of your meetings to everybody comes in there and
They
they'll
wanna-
ask for the most they can get?
They want to
And then
negotiate,
try and negotiate
What are you gonna
what
give
they
us?
will get.
right?
And that would be required a whole lot more time with the BZA to deal with every subject to where we have to decide what they can get. And I don't think it's our job.
Well, and I agree with you. I think you add on to that. It kind of came up tonight with a hardship issue. And I was saying that maybe we should distribute in a packet to anybody who's going in to request variance, like what we vote on and what's really, what we think about. Because people come in and say it's a hardship because I have 8 grandchildren or something. And
Right.
it's totally irrelevant. And then they feel offended that we don't think their grandchildren are cute or something. And that's really not what it's about. But I agree with you. I do think the BZA meetings go very long because people come in kind of with the thing and they'll like, I'm gonna negotiate from here. And I think they should come in with what they intended to do.
To
It's
do
a
it
yes
as a
or a
pitch,
no.
as you said, yes.
Yeah,
Go to the back of your book, look at your blue pages.
Yeah.
And it can be done in BZA meetings, that can be changed. So you can discuss and talk and make that change. Now, should we watch the ones who come in and ask for the most and then are continually doing that? Maybe, but it does allow BZA boards to do that.
but how do you then notify
Where's that?
neighbors? That's a
Well,
concerning part. If
okay,
we're
let's-
negotiating something,
Let's say that they're asking for a 0 setback, okay? And not gonna go, but they say, well, we could make this longer and narrower, we can get it down to 9 feet. It still requires a 1-foot variance rather than a 10-foot 0 variance. That I think, because it's less restrictive than what it was before, you can go ahead and grant that.
right, but what's the difference between that and like tabling something? Somebody says, I get the feeling you're not gonna vote for me, so I'm gonna table this.
No, the applicant
Can't table.
can't table, they have to withdraw.
Okay.
Okay, and then if they're coming back with something else, then it's got to be re-advertised
Gotcha.
with their new request. Because what we've been allowing them to do is come back the same way and try to, that's where we've been getting tangled up and doing the wrong thing, I believe.
Yeah, okay. So there's a difference between negotiating, which is the point you were making, right? Negotiating in a meeting and tabling something because there's not going to be a negotiation,
Withdrawing from them. The board,
Dan is the only one who could table something.
yes, if
On the
he-
board.
yeah,
the board.
somebody on the board, I mean, you could request.
Right.
You didn't have enough information, you could say, Mr. President, I would like
To table this.
for you to table this, but
Okay.
he as
Yeah.
president is the one who tables it.
And I will ask for board approval to, I won't say to myself,
I'm gonna
the
table
four of you
this.
say, no, we're
Yeah,
not gonna.
okay.
It would be a joint thing.
Very good.
Now, what did you say to check, what, you said blue?
He said
in the back?
blue,
Yeah,
it's
we
blue and
don't-
white in the back.
We
of the
don't
book.
have those, but
Yeah.
It's in the Indiana planning.
Yeah.
It's
the way he's looking for that, the only reason I say as far as withdrawal, the non-negotiating, because when you, when somebody comes in and asks for the most allowance that they can get, as far as that. And if we don't negotiate, everybody's gonna be doing the same thing. But if we do, if it's a withdrawal situation, you come up, you want this right here, and this is really what we're looking at. If we don't take that, the next person is gonna come in and you're gonna be, that person is more apt to do what he's willing to do than what he wants. And I mean, I think the Board of Zoning Appeals is, when you're actually letting a variance or agreeing with it, any kind of variance that is not conforming to the ordinances. I mean, it's like you're negotiating to go ahead and get them to be more non-conforming lots in town by doing that. And I mean, we're creating a precedent as far as procedure of the Board of Zoning people. And I know that I would like to see, as far as a comprehensive plan goes, I mean, we got the setback set because of the comprehensive plan and 25-foot setback. If we're setting a 25-foot setback on the street and everybody wants to build a new house, comes in here and wants on 10 feet.
Right.
And a lot of times you got people that's already 14 feet because it was that of record before the ordinance was set. And then you're letting the house come back in the middle and we're going to go to line of sight for that house. We're still avoiding the ordinance. To me, if we're going to do this and negotiate everything, then I think we need to take the ordinance and change it. Because we're not going by the ordinances. We're going opposite of the ordinance more time than the ordinance is being applied. I mean, I really do feel
Well, that's
that.
why they're coming in front of us. That's why they're coming in front of
And
us,
that's why.
because of,
Because the board, yeah, because they can't do it.
right, exactly.
So,
And it just makes more work for the BZA. And I think we're actually negotiating to where they can do what they want to do. I mean, I do feel that way.
Yeah, I know, Barry, you made a comment one time, and I may be a little off in quoting you about something that every new build, if somebody has a lot and they're building a house, that, it should be as conforming as possible. Because once you have the lot, then you know what size it was, or what.
If we've got a conforming lot, 5,000 square feet in town, if it's 5,000 feet, I cannot find a hardship anywhere that would allow that.
If it was a new build.
If it's a new build,
from the-
if
yeah.
you're building a new build, how can you ask for variances on a lot that's already buildable with all setbacks and a house being able to build on it? Why would you need a variance at any time?
Right, no,
Unless-
that's a good.
Unless
point.
it's a property hardship. I mean, you got, topical and everything else that we're looking at on it. That is a variance that should be brought only on a lot like that. Or if there's some kind of geographical reason that you couldn't put it on there.
So can I just ask a question about the people coming into BZA? Because sometimes you see everything, we just saw it recently where someone came in and said, but I see boathouses everywhere. And so there's stuff that got passed years ago before there were ordinances, and, so you
Exactly.
do deal with that. So how do we, I guess I'm saying, better educate people who come in front of us to know, right? If you come in front of us and you were, either it's going to be tabled or you're going to withdraw, you're going to pay again to have this, so they would know that beforehand.
The ordinance.
They'll just know when they know. Who do we have that does most of that? Jim Easterday.
Well, yeah.
Okay, so on April 15th, when he's here in front of us, or I'll call him beforehand and say, Jim, this is how it is. Nobody else does it. And that's.
And I give Jim Easterday a great deal of respect because he does go through the ordinances.
Right.
And he can tell the homeowner exactly what required a variance, why it needs variance.
Give
But
him a new book though, he's got an old one.
But here's the thing.
A lot of people got the old.
Last month, he brought the green, Mary Green, in front of us. That, he knew that was gonna pass. He brought that because he was getting paid
Right.
by her to ask that.
Right.
He knew that. He knew we weren't gonna do
Also,
that.
he was
There's
gonna
no
sit
way.
there and hear what we might negotiate to come back
No,
with the next variance.
But we didn't know that.
we did.
No,
We
we didn't okay it, but I'm saying,
But that's what we're gonna.
that's the
you know
purpose
what-
that they came in for.
And he was also wanting us to vote on the Wilson one. Voted no.
Just so he didn't have to deal with it.
Yeah.
Because he knew it wasn't gonna go.
But I still come back to, how it's a variation on a
record,
theme
by
of
the way.
having the institutional zone, right? Because Mitchell's sitting there and it's like, okay, if we did institutional zone, you wouldn't be here, right? But if there's a way, even if people go and apply, they go to get a building permit, or, what's the first time somebody ends up in front of you, Chuck, for a variance when they're applying for the building permit?
They don't have to anymore. That's the point that I was trying to get to him over here, and I apologize. They don't have to come to me to get asked for a variance.
So the county.
It goes online.
Right.
They don't have to tell anybody in the county, they don't have to tell anybody anywhere. They go online and do it, and there it is.
See, because to me, that there's an educational
I was
aspect to
trying to
this.
get at, though,
I think that people don't understand, and they'll come and say, well, the house next to me, it looks like this, or, but that if people knew what was important in front of BZA and how we vote on things, just our findings of fact, they're kind of strange in a way, but
Probably 95% of the people in town, if you say you're on the BZA, they say, what is that?
right,
They have no idea what you're even talking
Yeah.
about.
We have to
Then-
talk about
then-
two things here. One is the
Until it
education of
applies to you.
yes.
The permit, when you go online, it is clear that it outlines that the ordinances of Culver, whenever you select your location, it tells you right there in this ugly red and maroon color that you need to review the ordinances.
Okay,
So to me, that's not on us to educate.
okay,
Your second thing though, about what are the standards that we apply in findings of fact, is an interesting thing to think about, how do we get that out there? But again, that's a legitimate question that if somebody's gonna apply for a variance to ask, how do I know if I'm successful? That's just part of your due diligence. And I'm not sure how much paternal kind of measures we need to take here.
yeah.
Being the good libertarian that some of us are, you gotta.
I did, I've never applied for, my house is redone and everything before any of that happened. So I didn't know about, how much information it gave you online. Right?
Online.
We're still on,
That's before I went online.
Yeah. Is that somebody?
Does somebody want to make a comment? Somebody online want to make a comment? Guess not.
Can you talk at all? Go ahead. Are you? I was
I
gonna
just, I
pivot
don't
from
want to
this topic.
clarify something, because I apologize to you, but it was not pointed at you.
But if you would,
I apologize because I didn't explain the way I needed to explain it.
if you would have just waited till afterwards, I could have told you all of the steps that this went through, how many times it's changed. And it wasn't only until the last time before they applied, that they attached it to the house.
Yeah.
And they went ahead, applied, they said, no, we want to come because we want everything to be done and out. I said, if that's what you want, then
All right, and that's fine. But
that's what.
but I just couldn't figure out if they did it online,
Yeah.
and they were attaching, they still could have seen it. I mean, it's still written
Right, no.
where they can see it, you know, and
But
and that was-
they've been through so much over the last probably 11 to 12 months that they just wanted everything done so that they could move their practice.
I'm glad they presented that way, because I mean, you and I talked about this prior, and what they done.
We didn't talk about this, can't, that's illegal.
No, I'm talking about the
In
situation of the zoning. is all I'm
Yes,
talking about.
right,
So you say you're gonna talk to Mr. Easterday?
yes,
Because we still have 3 things tabled coming up in the next meeting from
I know.
him, and just so
Is
we
that what our next
understand
meeting
that.
is? 3 things were tabled earlier?
Yeah, 3 of them are. Or were.
Uh,
They were all from the
Is
last
Cook
meeting.
coming back up?
Yeah, that should be coming.
Jakey, what did you want to?
I just was gonna ask about the Burns property. We received a note about the height, and I didn't know if we had any progress on that. I saw you guys talked about it last meeting.
That's coming to the next meeting.
That's coming up to the 15th.
Okay.
So they're asking for a variance
Of an extra foot, whatever it is.
somewhere between 8 and 13 or 14
Okay,
inches.
I just haven't gotten that far yet in terms of my.
Right.
Since you brought it up, Eric, I mean, maybe I was notified wrong, but they weren't supposed to do anything else to that roof until.
No, I
they come
told them
over.
they could weather it in.
Okay, because I heard that too, that tar pit or whatever you had to do.
But if they weathered it in, and it had to be changed, that's on them and it's gonna be changed.
Okay, because that's how they proceeded and put the sheeting and everything on it, so.
You know, they're just trying to weather it in, they're putting the windows in now. And if you
Okay.
didn't have that roof on, then it would wet the inside of the windows. So,
And that's all I wanted to clarify. on.
yeah, no, I didn't, I told them that they couldn't finish that off, but if they went ahead and weathered it in, that was at their risk. And I was over there yesterday. What's today, Thursday? I was there on Tuesday and went over it with them and established where the grade was at. And luckily, this is a relatively flat lot, so it was easier to establish the grade. But I, as we told Mr. Garnett here, we're gonna make sure that we have an established grade before we start.
Right, and I'm glad you brought that up too, quickly.
Yeah.
And it used to be just a uniform thing that everybody knew when they came in here, but anymore it seems like.
It's very plain in here, but.
I know, and it's crazy. But I think Russ probably tell you the same thing as far as finding an established grade, the average, whatever.
Yeah, it depends on whether it's a vacant lot or whether there's a house there now.
If it's on a slope, lot,
It won't do it.
From the average.
The middle point.
If the house exists and pick either the back door or the front door to establish the grade,
Somewhere.
not the porch, right, but the ground that's beneath it.
Okay.
If it's a brand new lot, it would be the center.
Brand new home.
Russ, where does it say that in the ordinance? Just the front door, back door. And I'm just asking.
It's not in the ordinance, but it's a definition that was written by Mr. Kevin and myself a long time ago, trying to define everybody with 35-foot net.
So that should be someplace in the.
But that's been changed.
You don't have to have your,
Whoa.
Okay, that's why I was asking, I just.
but people are always asking, how do you determine what the grade is? Kevin and I came up with that as an explanation of how to do it.
So next, yeah, Gary Craig.
I can't even get out of it. Won't even let me.
Gary Craig, we have Gilbert Stanley over on Ohio Street. Michael Madison, West Shore. And Craig Burns, State Street. So that's more right now, I believe we have.
Because I knew there was one that had
Plus those other 3?
Yes,
3 tabled and
these
one.
are all new.
Oh, those are all, new.
Those are all new ones.
Just the only one tabled.
We don't have those yet. You have to have Madison. Madison's the only one I have.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I'll make sure that you get them. We've been scrambling, so.
This is the Madison.
The one we just got.
Yeah, I just got it today.
You get that one?
Madison, I have that.
Yeah, I got that one.
I stuck it someplace.
And I know
I knew we had 4 for tonight.
Yeah,
It's kind of a weird deal because it's got one lot that's in the township and one that's.
Yeah.
not.
I know.
I was trying to set us up. Need to do another special
I'm like, combine it.
No, really, and just so everybody's reminded, talking with JD, that the reason we had a special meeting was because with Jonathan leaving, the IT locked everything up. We didn't know those cases were anywhere. Those
Right.
3 that were- But because they had been waiting 2 weeks ago, they should have been here 2 weeks ago.
Right.
But since they weren't, that's why we called a special meeting to get them so they could get their construction underway.
If you talk to Mr. Easterday, find out if he's planning to do, so that we, because I gotta make an agenda. So, but I should be doing that as soon as possible, so.
Probably not watching for new sign-ins, because
Just maybe ask them to mute themselves.
If you can, that would help.
How can we just turn this off?
Yeah,
Well, you can't?
yeah, just tell them to mute
I
themselves.
think it was that issue with the IT that we had got crossed up with the documents that was,
Right. And that's exactly right, Agent. So
apologize.
Tell them to shut it up, don't do this.
Switch off.
I'm trying to switch it off.
Okay,
Can't bug it.
anything else?
I'll be out here and
This
they can
meeting is
talk all they
adjourned.
want.
Now vote yes.
Oh, yes, we should vote. A motion to adjourn, second? Been moved and proper second, we adjourn, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye. Wow, that's the
Opposed?
earliest in
Be here by yourself.
the blue book that I was
months.
talking about, that's Plan Commission Basics. You may have gotten that. If